There's always five pillars for any business, which is lead generation, getting people to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested. Lead nurture, which is when you send them information. It could be talking to them, however it is, but giving them further information, answering questions, etc. And then sales or conversion, which is either like for med spa, would be like when they come in for the appointment, would be like your sales process. Been here in the aesthetic inner circle, didn't you? They
Yeah.
convert everybody on the phone. They sell people just right into the membership on the phone before they get to the med spa.
Wow, that's fascinating.
But he's a model that works really well. Like, he's definitely somebody to model, and he's also an ultra nice guy. He'd tell you everything to help you out, so he's really cool. That's the stage 3, and then there's 4 and 5. So 4 is fulfillment, meaning like doing whatever you sold, and then 5 is ascension, or sending them into like the next purchase. Whenever you get confused, you're like, man, I don't know what to do. There's like 10,000 tasks. I say, okay, which one of the pillars of my business is not properly built, or which is the one that I'm missing? All right, Leah had submitted some questions here. If you want to talk, you can talk now. I think you just have to unmute.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, how's it going?
It's so good to see you. How have you been?
Good. Just crazy busy, but it's been a good experience. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
How about everything going for you?
It's going well. The business just passed the 2-year mark and I'm doing well. Someone asked me why I was doing so well, and I said, I just do everything Adam tells me to do.
Sure, I appreciate it. That's very kind of you.
I don't have to reinvent the wheel. He already knows how the wheel's supposed to spin.
Absolutely. It's funny because it's interesting because the more stuff that I build, the more I realize like the same principles are always the same.
Yes.
And so it's 'cause, like literally just this like earlier this week I was in Houston and I was trying to build this crazy like syndicate network in order to direct these flows of patients, right? And it's just it all breaks down to those same 5 pillars like lead generation, lead nurture, conversion. And it's amazing to me like how many people that I've met that are, I'd say, moderately successful business people doing 2 to say 10 mil a year revenue. And they like have no idea about any of that. There's whoa, that's amazing. And it's just having those, it's starting with the right view can make all the difference in business.
Yeah, no, I'm very thankful. Remind me what the 5, I know I've got it written down in my notes somewhere, but tell me the 5 again if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So there's 5 pillars of any business. And so whenever you get stuck and you're like, man, I don't know what to do next, or this happens a lot of times, especially for business owners, because we wear so many hats that there's
Mhm.
a like 15-minute changeover period that occurs, right? Like when you go from one job to the other job, or when you go from one focus to another focus, it's thought that
Yes.
there's roughly about 15 minutes of time where it takes to really refocus your mind on the new thing.
Okay.
And so some of the ways that you can use this for is like whenever you're this happens a lot to me in business. I imagine it probably happens to you as well, where you're like, okay, I got some time now. I want to focus on like this business. Like, what do I need to do? And you're just like, there's 1,000 things to do, right?
Yes.
And so a lot
Yes.
so that's why you take a step back and you draw the 5 pillars, right? So there's always 5 pillars for any business, which is lead generation, getting people to raise their hand and say, "Hey, I'm interested." Lead nurture, which is when you send them information. It could be talking to them, however it is, but giving them further information, answering questions, etc. And then sales or conversion, which is either like for med spa, would be like when they come in for the appointment, would be like your sales process. You could also, depending on what you want to do, and been here in the aesthetic inner circle, didn't you? They
Yeah.
convert everybody on the phone. Like they sell people just right into the membership on the phone before they get to the med spa. So his conversions on the
Wow,
phone.
that's fascinating.
Yeah, he's a model that works really well. Like, he's definitely somebody to model, and he's also ultra nice guy. He'd tell you everything to help you out, so he's really cool.
Wow, okay.
And his wife is Jen that's in there too.
Yeah, she's been really helpful on AIC.
Yeah, she's pretty nice, cool too. But yeah, they're really cool little couple. And then so that's the stage 3, and then there's 4 and 5. So 4 is fulfillment, doing whatever you sold, and then 5 is
Mhm.
ascension, or sending them into the next purchase.
I
So
see.
whenever you get confused, you're like, man, I don't know what to do. There's 10,000 tasks. I say, okay, which one of the pillars of my business is not properly built, or which is the one that I'm missing? So
Oh, yeah.
do I have leads coming in? If I don't have leads coming in, then I know, okay, lead generation and lead nurture are going to be my top 2. And if I have leads but don't have any sales, then I know like, okay, I need to work on conversion. Something's happening. I'm getting leads in, but we're not getting them and changing them into customers. And then if I have
Okay.
customers that are coming in, but we don't have good resell rates, then we know, okay, there's a problem with fulfillment. Like maybe fulfillment needs to be optimized. We need to make sure we're fulfilling exactly what we promise or make the experience better. And then ascension is the last part which to be quite honest, most people never get to Ascension, but Ascension is basically upsells, right? Somebody buys like Botox, like how do they go to the next thing? And the other thing I wanted to mention to you, 'cause I mentioned it to you briefly in a message, but I wanted to mention to you, I think you should really consider adding regenerative medicine to your practice as soon as you can, because just what I've seen personally, and it's probably why I've been so busy, is just like the demand for regenerative medicine is skyrocketing in the marketplace. There are so many people that are seeking it, and it's way more than ever before. So I've been doing regenerative medicine for like probably like 11 years now. Initially, it was like I was doing like I have a few cash patients here and there, like I had insurance patients mainly, but then I had a few cash that were regen, and then now it's like pretty much all I do.
Wow. That's
um,
so cool. I listened to your podcast on,
oh, the PDPAs,
oh, PDPA. Yes. Holy
yeah.
moly, that was amazing.
It has been crazy. The thing is that the PDPAs, what I really didn't talk about on there was that it's actually they were designed for the primary market for them isn't like even practitioners. So if you look at like any other regenerative product, the main goal is to have doctors and nurses find patients and inject patients with this product to sell more of it. That's the most way most
Sure.
businesses are structured. The way that this one is, they don't even do that. Like it's like a secondary effect that's you almost have to know somebody to get it. But what's interesting is that the product itself is actually used by reinsurance companies. So the companies that buy, like when insurance companies sell products, there's another insurance company behind them that buys those products that they sell. They buy like the risk, right? So the insurance
Mhm.
companies that you're commonly familiar with, they actually also buy insurance too. And that's what these reinsurance companies are. And so the reinsurance companies are like, they're actively investigating the product because they're actually using it. They've seen the effects of it on multiple people. And now they're
Mhm.
basically saying, hey, we want to take $5 million and say, let's run a trial and say, hey, can we reduce the long-term liability from having somebody that's injured? Can we heal them with the product? And that would decrease our total like liability. And so that's where most of the product goes to right now.
Wow. So what are the med spa applications for it now?
Sure, and this is why I mentioned the regenerative medicine because I was literally just talking to a lady here in Dallas. You probably know her from ASE, April Witherspoon.
Sure, sure.
And so I went over there to teach her a little bit about the product because she's in Carrollton, which is like real close to us. And so we were doing so you can use it for hair. It's very powerful for hair. It's very powerful to do like facial wrinkles and these kind of things. The thing is the product is very expensive though. It's like $2,000 a vial. So it means like you're talking about expensive stuff. You'll need to make sure that like the patients are like your high-end patients. But
Mhm.
what I told her immediately was like you should start doing knee injections. And like we were literally filming like her doing it for the hair. And so like I literally was filming that and the lady's like, hey, I would love to have some of my knee hurts. I didn't know you could do that. This is the patient that she had recruited for hair. And the patient's like sitting there telling her like, "Oh man, I didn't know you do knees because like my knee hurts. I'd love to come here for knees."
Wow.
And I think that's something that we commonly miss. The other thing I see is that if you look statistics, I was actually looking through this. I made a little presentation on the market, and I'll pull up
Mhm.
the exact numbers. But the regenerative market has a compounded annual growth rate or CAGR of. Let me just make sure I get this right. It was really high, 28.2%.
Wow.
So most markets they're considered fast growing if they have a compounded annual growth rate of 9%.
Okay.
But here's regenerative medicine's growing at 28.2% per year. That's like the fastest growth I've ever seen of a market. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's everything that we've talked about in the past. I implement. I may not implement quickly, but I do implement. Eventually I get to it. And I have pushed heavily for the here's why you don't have to have filler. You've got Sculptra and Radius. And I tell you what, it's taken off. That message hits home in a big way.
Nice. And now's the
Mhm.
time to push it a little bit further. So what I
Yeah.
would say if you want, and this is entirely optional for you, but what I would like to do if you have time is consider coming on the Medical Entrepreneur podcast. And what I'll do is
Mm.
I'll interview you about your approach to aesthetics. And what this will do is
Mm.
this will make you look like the expert as to like how you're doing all these aesthetics things without having to rely on dermal filler, which is the
Wow.
most dangerous procedure there is in a med spa, which is totally true.
Wow. Okay.
And then what we can do is you can take those clips of that, like we'll edit it and process it for you. We'll cut up into a whole bunch of shorts, and you take those
Mhm.
shorts and you run those shorts on your social media to get more followers.
Adam, that's huge. That
Yeah, dude.
that that's very kind of you. I
Oh, my
I
pleasure.
will take you up on that. Thank you.
You got it. Let me just I'll put the link in the chat too here so you can schedule it. But I have a little Calendly link and just schedule a time that works for you. But that way, that's the best thing I think I can help you with because that will give you media right away. It'll give you plenty of content. And then the other thing you can do is we might have to get meta here, but you can make content about your content. So like you could be like,
Mm.
hey, check out this interview, and then you could be like reacting to the interview that you already did.
Yes, 100%. I was already thinking of like how many different ways I can chop this up and reuse this. Yes, 100%.
That's so
Let's do
smart.
it. Thank you so much. My
Sure.
goodness, that's very kind.
You bet. Here's the link right here. It should hopefully go in there. But yeah, that's one thing I would highly recommend because the more time, especially if someone's interviewing you, it just makes you look like the authority anyway, just by the
Yes.
dynamics.
Yeah.
And then we can talk all about your thing, how your approach is different. What you may consider is I was literally talking to this lady, really cool lady. So this lady name was Cornelia Zicku, and she heard about the PDPA product. So this lady here, Cornelia Zicku, really cool lady. I talked to her a couple times. Basically, she came from Romania in the 90s to the US. Her first job was like scrubbing stairs in New York, like scrubbing like a
Mhm.
brownstone, like scrubbing the actual like stone stairs or whatever. So she started out doing that. She later became an esthetician of some kind and basically built like a really huge, she ended up building a huge med spa in Manhattan. And she had, I think it was like 50,000 square feet on Fifth Avenue, which is like
Wow.
crazy expensive.
Wow.
And she's known as like the expert in her industry. So she's well known. But it was funny because I was talking to her about many of the trends that we're seeing in business. And so one of the trends that she sees a lot is like this kind of movement away from fillers into more natural things. And so one of the things I learned from her was like number one, always focus on the high-end client. That's what she told me because she said like
Oh.
for example, in the 90s when she had her med spa in Manhattan, and I think it was during the 2000s too, I'm not sure. But she had like famous celebrities that come there, but you would go there and a facial would be like $1,000. And this was in the 90s where that was like a lot of money. Now it's
Wow.
like $2,000. So she does like facials for $1,000.
Wow.
And the things that they're amazing experiences because she'll have four people that come and they'll be like massaging your arms and your legs at the same time while you're getting a facial and just crazy
Mhm.
experiences. But her whole focus is saying, look, never discount things, never be cheap on things because it's the high end clients that actually make your business worthwhile. And it's true.
It's funny that you say that because I'm at a point now where I did Eric and I did the avatar class that you and Jennifer had on at the beginning of AIC. And so we came up with an avatar that's quite similar to myself. And that is one of my clients, and that's an important client. But now I have the second avatar, and it is a they are very high-end clients, and I'm still trying to figure out how to give them the service they're looking for. And so I have these two very different clients, and I don't know, I'm still juggling that.
It's a great question. It's something that we've just run into recently. So with the PDPA technology, it's so powerful that initially we just treated athletes, right? And then now I recently treated like an A-list celebrity. And then after I treated that A-list celebrity, and then both Jennifer and I got an opportunity to treat some more celebrities and also some like rock stars. Like they're like
Mm,
legitimately like famous people.
yeah.
And it was really interesting to see that. And I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you that what I saw they're just normal humans like us. And if anything, I think their lifestyles, they're closer to what you and I are in terms of their work lifestyle balance because all the people that are
Oh.
very good, all like the rock stars that are making all this money and they have a net worth of 150 million plus and et cetera. Dude, these guys are on tour. Like they've been on tour for
Mhm.
20 plus years. Like they still do shows all over the world. And so like they have a high demand lifestyle. But what I see is that there's actually less offers being made to them than there are to the average person.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
what was my biggest aha moment recently was realizing that, whoa, there's nobody like reaching out being like, hey, are you a celebrity rock star? Do you need to have the ability to heal small injuries easily? Do you have joint pain that may interfere with one of your shows? And that would
Mm.
make a huge difference for you. Like we have advanced treatments that can help you. There's nobody saying any of that to them.
Wow.
And if anything, they're actually hungrier than the average patient. Like I was mentioning that the A-list celebrity before, like this A-list celebrity has access to anything that they want. Guy's been famous
Mhm.
for a long time. Did all sorts of movies, everything, right? And what's interesting to me is like this guy here is literally like asking every kind of buying question he possibly can about PDPA and like what it could be used for. Like he wants it so bad because they're actively looking for solutions, but there's nobody talking to them at all.
Mm,
And that's one of the things I see all the time with this affluent market is that people almost are afraid of it. So nobody ever goes in trying to access it. The other thing that I
ooh,
noticed was that yeah, because no one's talking to them. No one's saying, "Hey, are you a highly successful person that needs to have $1,000 facial or whatever?" No one's saying this is for you only. And that's part of the thing is they want to be treated differently because they are different, but also
yes.
it's not necessarily even like an ego thing with them. It's like they have a different lifestyle and different concerns. Like
Mhm,
for them, like going to a place where they're not going to be mogged by a whole bunch of people with cameras is like really important. Being treated with respect and not having everybody come up and ask for an autograph, like just small things like that for them are like really
mhm,
critical. Whereas those wouldn't be concerns for most patients. So when you look at the high end of the market, is there a way that you can speak to just them? Is there a way that you can call out and say, "Hey," sometimes I'll even say, "Hey, look, I only take high-end patients." That's what I tell people, like, "If you're not a high-end patient, you're probably not for me." With no disrespect. And I've just started to do that because what I've realized is, like, the high-end patients, not only are they better, they pay better, they have better margin, they're gonna pay a higher price, better margin for you, but
mhm,
also they actively care more about getting better. Because for the
mm,
guy who's a 60 some odd year old rock star who's still touring the world giving these crazy performances, that guy really cares about whether he can, do his jumping and stuff on stage or whatever, right? That guy really cares. Like it's a big priority for him. He's gonna do what you
mhm,
say. If you tell him, hey, take these supplements, like he's gonna take them. Hey, do
mhm,
this injection, he's gonna do it. Follow up 3 times, he's gonna do it. Like because it's a priority for him and they're focused on it. If you go to somebody who maybe isn't, and this is why a lot of times the lower end market doesn't work because if you have something for cheap or for free, oh, if it works, great. If not, okay, it was only $250. I don't care. That's fine. Like
mhm,
those kind of people, they're not going to get the same results because they don't have the same passion and the connection to
mhm,
it. So that's, if anything, what I'd say is try to, when you find your high end avatar, like figure out where they are and see if you can make a message that clearly is like a dog whistle for them, where it's this is a message for you, not anybody else, but for you. Are you a high end person in where's your location again?
Okay, so here's where I want in Atlantic Beach. So this is
Atlantic
the
Beach?
perfect segue. So these people, they're very wealthy. They're not rock star touring for the last 30 years wealthy, but they're very wealthy. They live in $2 to $4 million homes on the ocean in my town. Okay. The high end area that I reside in, it's all affluent, but the high end area is Atlantic Beach, and I'm across the street in Neptune Beach. So a lot of them have found their way to me through Google because they do Botox near me. So here's my question for you. I have 18 months until the giant med spa in town that just got purchased by an even larger med spa franchise builds a location in Atlantic Beach. This is a really small town. They'll no longer have to cross one large street to get to me. They can stay within their neighborhood. They could ride their bike there. So at the beach, we're really lazy. If we have to drive more than a mile, we just won't. It's a small I mean, like, it's a small town and there's literally a bridge, and if we have to go over the bridge, we're for sure not going. Anyway, so my concern is that now they're going to have a well-named brand, this med spa that you see on the screen here. They're gonna
Mhm.
have a well-named brand that they've already know around town, and it's the big fancy med spa, and it's gonna be in their neighborhood. I want your thoughts on all the things I can do to put myself in the best position for when that med spa moves into town.
And right now, are you still practicing in like a salon suites kind of thing?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am.
Don't feel sad about that. The reason why I say that is because that's actually your advantage.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, what you need to do to solve this is an apples versus oranges comparison. And
Okay.
what that means practically is like this company, you got to be the orange. And so
Yes.
what that means is there's a total difference between the two of you, and you just need to make it more prominent. So the thing
Okay.
is, you don't want to say, "Hey, I need to compete with this gigantic men's spa," because
Right.
realistically, like that's not a good fight for you anyway. Plus,
No.
the market is so diverse anyway. Like you're better off pulling in people that are higher end just for you. And the other thing is,
Mhm.
you have a very personable touch and a very personable connection, right?
Mhm.
Because it's just you with
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
These other
And they
med spa,
like
like
it's private.
yeah. And these other med spas, they're not like that at all. Like
Mm,
it's going to be a lot of people. Their staff's going to be rotating, may come
mhm,
in and be a different injector every time. That's the reality of these of like large med spas. That's the way they have to be. The thing is that what I would immediately do is start to position yourself as like you're the high end luxury med spa experience where it's one on one, and there is nobody's going to be in the waiting room watching you. Your neighbor's not going to be there to see you. Like it's very private, it's very personable, and it's a one-on-one approach, and you take a comprehensive anti-aging approach. I think, and this is up to you, but I think what I would do personally is I would start to mix in other service lines with what you have because you're starting to develop a message that's unique. You're throwing rocks at filler. I guarantee you, if this is run by a chain, they're going to be using filler for sure because that's
yeah,
like one of their go-tos. So by throwing rocks at filler, number one, you're already differentiating yourself, but then two, you need to start showing some of the stuff that you offer that's different. So
sure,
besides doing the normal aesthetics consult, you may consider doing an anti-aging slash wellness consult with it.
okay,
Ask them about their hormone history. Do you have hot flashes? Do you have this? Do you have that? Are you looking to lose weight? Are you looking for this? Da, da. And so basically, like maybe adding more service lines that are related to anti-aging and making it a more personable experience.
mhm.
Because what would you have to do in order for someone to cross that busy road? What would make it worth it for them?
That they have an expert one-on-one attention to every concern that they bring up, that we can talk about it, we can look into it. That would definitely it's you're right, it's the personable experience. In fact, I get a lot of people from that chain because they're like, "Oh, no one's ever told me about this. I like that you teach me about this and that we can talk about all these different things."
Absolutely. And I think that's exactly your pitch is going to be it's personable. We don't do filler because I don't do filler personally. I don't think you should. And here's why. And that's opposite of what everybody says. And so we're different than them. And this is why we do a natural anti-aging holistic approach to aesthetics. And so not only am I going to help you look better and feel better, but I'm also going to help you get better from the inside out. And then you can start to add supplement lines. You can start to add some other stuff. If you need help, I can connect you to all sorts of stuff. We also
Okay.
have, if you ever need it, I have a whole telemedicine network, so I can connect you to telemed that can do fulfillment for you on any of the service lines you want
Oh,
to open.
that's exactly what I was about to say, is that all of this is I'm at that spot in the business where I don't know what to do next, Adam. I wear every hat, and I really would love to offer my people hormone replacement, but I'm like, I can't do it, and yet I can't hire someone else to do it. And so, how do I make that jump from me to being able to give these people all the services I really want to give them, but it's still just me? I
Yeah.
don't know. I
What I
don't know
would
what the next
do,
step is.
sure. I mean, and it's you're almost there. So the thing is that we need to scale back. So we look at the five pillars, right? So
Okay.
of the five pillars, the most important you have to have for any business are the first three: lead
Okay.
generation, lead nurture, and conversion or sales. Same thing, right?
Mhm.
So technically, the other two pillars can be outsourced. Like fulfillment,
Okay.
it can be outsourced. And
Wow.
if I look at most of the people that, and this is very common for a lot of businesses, by the way, many of the most successful businesses, they're good because they have the first three pillars, and then they'll
Mm.
outsource all their fulfillment to someone else. It's
Mm.
very common that this is done. Even look at roofing companies, right? The roofing company has a guy that comes out there. He's gonna, oh hey, was your roof damaged by the hail or whatever? Okay, let me get you a quote. He's a nice guy, trustworthy,
Mhm.
blah blah. Sets it up, and then as soon as you decide to go with him, another crew, not him, comes and does the work.
That's
So it's
right.
he's outsourced fulfillment. So this is very common in a lot of businesses, especially service industry businesses, right? But you
Okay.
can do the same thing in medicine, and but it's not as common in medicine because people are not as aware of it.
Oh,
But
okay.
what I would do is I would focus on one is I can connect you to my telehealth backend. I got two gigantic networks I use for fulfillment. And so basically, we can do anything from medical weight loss, hormone replacement, menopausal stuff. We even have people that come for basically stimulants like modafinil. Modafinil is like a shift work drug. It's not like
Okay.
addictive, but it's like very useful for like firefighters and SWAT team guys and those things. And so we have all these different service lines that you can connect to. But what I would do is I'd focus on because the most important piece in your business is those first three. So
Right.
if one is, I think you should use them first for free. I'll just connect you and you can use them for free. And so you can have an
Oh,
experience. And then what you do is say, hey, when I wanted to have this, when I wanted to get my hormones optimized, this is what I did. And so now what I did is for my customers, you can come to me and I will offer a subscription for you that you pay me every month. And in return, you'll be able to go see this provider and get your medications from them. But I'll also consult you beforehand and help you out or whatever. And
Okay.
so that way you're basically like, you're just saying, hey, there's a person who's going to deal with your actual hormone issue. So you don't have to deal with them, deal with the headache of any of that stuff. But
Yeah.
also then the thing is it's part of your larger plan for them. So when you
Mhm.
do like you sit down, you do a large plan for them, you say, "Hey, you're gonna need to
Mhm.
have Botox, you're gonna need to have PRP,
Mhm.
we're gonna need to optimize your hormones." You mentioned before that one of your goals is weight loss. Would you be interested in using medical grade weight loss? Because we can do that
Mhm.
too. Okay, cool. And then you can basically sell them a package with those in it and then send those out for fulfillment. And that way you're just making the money off the sales, which is the best use of your time.
100%. And I already do that, Adam. Like, I literally have a stack of business cards and I'm like, what do you need? Okay, go see this person. Okay, go see this person. But I don't make money off that. They're just other small businesses around me.
Oh, that's very kind of you, but you should immediately make deals with them where you get some kind of compensation.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately, that's only fair. And most
Right.
of the time, they'll be happy to pay you. It gets a little sticky with medicine because there's a whole fee splitting thing. But the
Mhm.
best way around that is basically to basically pay for a consult, right?
This is
So
interesting. Okay. All right.
this is
All
a
right.
common thing I run into when I build these things where there's always some kind of situation where you have some kind of marketing company or somebody who has patience, and then you have somebody who
Mhm.
can do fulfillment, and they want to work together, but because of these BS laws that they put in place, they say stuff like, "Oh, you can't fee split medicine." Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So then basically what happens is you pay the guy who has the patient, you pay them to have a consult, and that's where you can give them money. Hey, give
Okay.
me your last note and I'll pay you whatever X number of dollars per note you send me. And that
Mm,
number will always be equivalent to, like, less than what you make, right?
okay. Okay. That's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. This is the stuff I've had to figure out over the years. So
Yeah. My next question is number one. So, lead generation. So, this is what the big med spa, if you Google med spa or their old name that they just got purchased, this is what comes up. And it's a Google ad. And it doesn't take you to their website, it takes you to this funnel. And I was thought, I've never paid for a Google ad. But
okay.
I was wondering, what do you think? Is this something that I should look into, is creating a funnel like this and paying for the Google ad to do this?
I think you can. It just depends on really like your marketing. One is anytime you see an existing funnel like this, it's wise to always copy it and see what happens. So
Yeah.
this is a very easy funnel to copy, as you can see. This is I went through it earlier and I took screenshots of it because after this page, it's literally just a thank you page with a link to schedule. And the link to
Mhm.
schedule, by the way, is on a third-party website. So it's not even in the same funnel. So they literally link to an external thing. It could be like your
Yeah,
EMR or
just like
whatever,
we
right?
do. Yeah.
Exactly. So
And then they sent me one text, which I thought was inadequate. I was like, we should they didn't send me an email like, "Oh, you have this $100 value sitting here. Don't you wanna come use it?" I was thinking my response could be a little bit more robust than just one text.
oh, for sure. And I would even send text with before and after images because that's always what gets people
Ooh.
attention. So if you get a text and you have like images of before and after, you're immediately going to look at them because you're like, oh, it's an image. It's hard not to look at
Yes.
images. And then when you
Right.
see the before and after, damn, like that's pretty good. And one thing I like about this is it is $100 off, but it never mentions the price. So it's unlike this is very similar to Ideal Image. So Ideal Image has a thing that's I think $6 a unit Botox or something.
Mhm.
So Ideal Image, and it's funny, I actually just ran into the owner of Beverly Hills Rejuvenation Center, a really cool guy. And it was funny, I talked to him a little bit, and then he has a whole out like he actually it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like he has a whole marketing team that's separate, but it was really interesting to see because like their marketing, it's all based around the same thing, like basically a break even offer to get people in the door, and then they upsell them
Mhm.
everything, right?
Yes.
And so all of them do that, like Ideal Image, Beverly Hills Rejuvenation Center, and I'm sure like these guys, it's the same thing. And so you can do the same thing if you wish as well. However, I think that like I don't think it's wrong to ever model what's existing. If someone's doing it, I think you should model it and see what numbers you can get from it.
Mhm.
However, I do think that you already have a very special story. You already have a very
Hmm.
special approach. And I think the
Hmm.
next thing for you is if you can take a step back, figure out what you want to do with regards to being like more holistic or anti-aging. And
Mhm.
that all that means practically for you is okay, I'm going to probably be selling supplements. If you need connection, I can get you connected to there's a guy I know that builds supplements out of Miami, and I'm helping him launch a whole brand of supplements just for doctors, right? And so I'm
Mm.
literally going to by specialty and be like, "Hey, these supplements are for GI doctors to put in their practice. These supplements are for like
Oh, that's
cardiologists."
spectacular. I love it.
So it's the same thing, like, it's the same kinda concept. You take I have a big market solution, right? But I know if I niche it down, the solution's worth
Mhm.
more money. It's like
Way
if I make
more.
a time management for all people, it's worth $20, but I make a time management for CRNAs who also run aesthetics practices,
Mhm.
that's way more specific, it's worth
We'll
more money,
we'll
you know?
buy that all day, every day.
So that's the thing, so anytime you have an opportunity to take large market and niche down to small market, it's always
Mm.
usually very profitable.
Interesting. Are you gonna have a med spa supplement?
I thought about it. I haven't really worked on it yet, but that's eventually, like, I think so because for us, like we're doing more and more online stuff, and Jennifer's been pushing really hard on her store, doing great. But for me, I've been working a lot more in the regenerative space, and so what I see a lot is I see a lot of doctors and a lot of clinics, chiropractors, podiatrists, you name it. I've talked to so many people like this, and they're all like suffering heavily with mainstream medicine, especially
Oh,
podiatrists, man.
man, it's
So
rough out there.
it is, and they're all getting very desperate, so like that. So I basically talk to them, and usually what I do is I tell them about teach them some regenerative medicine stuff because for them, just even getting like 10% of patients to do regenerative medicine is like tripling their income because
Wow.
I mean they get paid so little from insurance, and by the time it gets, the biller gets 7%, and
Mhm.
then you got the overhead and the stat like it's a tough life, making that work. So as soon as they start getting cash patients, like it's whoa, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
But then as always, there's so many things like whenever you solve one problem for someone, you create other problems for them. So, when which is true, this is part of life, right? So if someone, for example, has severe knee pain and you offer them a regenerative injection for their knee pain, that's great. But they're also going to have hip pain. They still have degenerative arthritis in other joints. So it may be wise for them to take glutathione, for example, very powerful
Mm.
anti-inflammatory, which you could give IM injections of that if you wanted to. I don't think that would be a
Mm.
big ask for your medical director. And so like you could immediately do that. That's very easy. You could immediately sell supplements, peptides, all these kind of things. And that would be very simple for you to basically make these little tracks for people like, hey, part of the anti-aging pack is that you need to take these supplements that will help you. And
Wow.
then so now you're in
Please.
that, and then so now you have a subscription coming. So as you convert your people into subscription customers for anti-aging or whatever, I think what you'll find is that they'll be way more profitable, and then you'll start to be a specific niche where there's no way that even that big med spa, no matter how much they spend on marketing, like one is I'll guarantee you that they will never be able to target you very well because they're two different sizes. It's like a gigantic tank versus a motorcycle. Like they're just
Mhm.
different. They're different structures. But being a motorcycle many times can be more advantageous than being a tank. It seems like the tank is very strong, but tank lacks the ability to be able to move very quickly. It lacks the
Okay.
ability to be able to be as dynamic. It can't
Mhm.
turn as fast. There's many advantages and disadvantages for each of them, but many times being smaller actually gives you more advantages.
Okay.
So what I would personally do is I think you have a beginning of an amazing message. I would expand that out, mix it up with some anti-aging, some regenerative medicine, get a feel for those things, put it into some kind of protocol or treatment. And then
Mhm.
once you have that, now you have a great message that you just need to repeat over and over on social media. But then I would take that next and I'd basically take that and then basically go and say, hey, now that you have that message, try to write a little bit of it down. And I think you could make a book out of it fairly easily. And then now you have a
Oh,
book. And
okay.
so and that's then you can give away your book even at talks and lectures. "Hey, here's my book for free, enjoy it." And the book just basically is a sales pitch of, like, why they should come to you. And so now you're published authority, and there's just, like, no comparison because, yeah, you could go to this generic med spa, which has 45 locations throughout the US or whatever, and you're gonna be treated in a certain way, or you can actually talk to this expert who wrote this book about it and has a totally different viewpoint, and she's proving how bad fillers are and how dangerous they are every day, and just like apples versus oranges, they're not even close to the same. And when you get that apples and oranges comparison, you're now unique in the marketplace because you now have a unique selling proposition. They don't. They're doing
Wow.
Botox. Everybody does Botox, but you have something they don't have.
Oh my god. My first degree, Adam, is molecular and experimental nutritional sciences.
Nice.
Who would have thought that would come in handy someday?
It sure does now. And
Oh, oh
I'm
boy.
I'm
All
not sure
right.
if you saw I don't know if it's been released, but did you see the interview on Medical Entrepreneur with Zen Honeycutt? I think what you'll find is there's content in here that you can use to make your case as to why they need to work with you. You don't have to take the advice and maybe you can detox after you eat it or whatever, I don't know.
I can detox.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
but the thing is that once you watch this, what it has in the message is it basically talks a lot of stuff that are actually happening. And so you can actually wrap this into your existing philosophy of, hey, one of the reasons why you age prematurely, and you can say this a lot of different ways. Do you ever look in the mirror and the person looking back to you seems like they're 20 years older than you? The reason why that's
Mhm.
happening is that because you're exposed to many toxins. Want some examples? Sure. Hey, meet this lady Zen Honeycutt, and if you want, I could connect you so you can do an interview with her, and we can record it, and I can edit the video for you if you need it.
Oh my gosh.
Um, yeah, and that because it's good for you to also build content with you interviewing other people,
Okay.
and that way it just makes more content, and then also like you're interviewing them, and like that connects your name. They look them up, like you start to appear more of
Mm.
authority. That kind of stuff could be part of your message, and now you're not even talking about what you do, but you're talking
Mhm.
about the things that people who are interested in what you offer are likely interested in. Because people that are
Mhm.
interested in looking good are also interested in being healthy. The same
Mhm.
person who's going to be able to spend, it wouldn't be unreasonable to charge somebody, I don't know, would it be bad to charge somebody $1,500 a month where you could monitor their hormones, you take care of their anti aging needs, you also give them some Botox, maybe some PRP, and they do that every month? And they
That's
have
entirely reasonable.
I think so, and the thing is nobody's doing that, and they have a custom health plan from you because you always wanna keep that
Wow.
primary connection with the customer, so you're
Mhm.
always in charge. You don't let the telemedicine tell them what to do, and I'll make sure that, like I'll show you how to do that too, but make sure, like, you're the planner, and you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna send you to this guy. I'm gonna send you to this person to help you," and then that way you're the one in control, and then these other
Mhm.
people are your consultants that are executing for you. And
Okay.
so they buy from you on a monthly subscription. You send them off to those places for fulfillment, and that way you don't have to even do fulfillment. You take no liability from any of that, and you're
Oh,
the one
that
that's
would
getting
be
all the money.
nice.
Because ultimately, that's really what the best part of business is. Business is by definition money in, right? It is
Mhm.
essentially like how do you get somebody to give you money for value? You
Mhm.
don't have to make the value. You have been making the value yourself, but it's way easier life if you don't have to make the value, right? Because you can just focus on business,
Right.
the sales and marketing, which is
Yeah.
the most important part by definition.
Mhm.
And the guys that are really good at giving value, most time they don't know how to do any sales and marketing. So it's a natural
Yeah.
match, you know?
I like the sales more anyway. I don't give a flip about doing your Botox. Like, this does not excite me. But the sale and the upsell, I love. And for someone who did anesthesia for 20 years, is pretty good at it for just showing up 2 years ago and being like, let's give this oral.
Well, and the thing is, you are good at it, and a lot of it is the same way that the same thing that you did in anesthesia, like when you talk to a patient before they went to the OR, that is really sales. Because the thing about those people,
Mhm.
like they don't know anything about anything, right? Like they're meeting you
Mhm.
for one time, and basically,
Mhm.
of everybody in the room, like you're probably taking more responsibility for their life than anyone else. To be fair,
Yes. Yeah.
and you're able to convince them, hey, don't run, like go to sleep, have the
Don't
surgery.
run.
If you could do that, you could do anything.
Yeah, it is. It's you're right. It's incredibly similar. You stand in a position of authority. You are the clear expert for the situation. You get them to calm down and buy into the message. Like, it's the same thing.
100%. And that's
Mhm.
the best thing about medical sales is that technically it's essentially a consulting kind of process where you're like, hey, based on what information I have about you, or based on your goals or this survey, whatever, some kind of data point, based on this thing, I recommend this and this. So it's a consultative sell. And ultimately, that's the real value. And just to give you an example, I've seen people do this at large scales when they were chiropractors. I know a chiropractor right now in Frisco that's a really cool guy, and he doesn't do anything. He just meets with people every day
Mhm.
and he talks to them about their health and stuff, and then he's, "Okay, here's what I think is best for you. You need to do this." And then he, like, writes out, like, a little plan for them, and all those plans are executed by other people. He himself
You
does
know,
nothing.
it's funny that you mentioned that because what I've been daydreaming about for the last few months is what I call being the fairy godmother. I love the intake and the plan and getting them excited and let's do this. And they're like, yeah, like they're ready to charge the gates of hell with a water pistol by the time I'm done. And then, okay, off you go.
That's and that makes more sense, and by definition, like, that's really your best and the highest utilization of your time.
Mhm.
because nobody else can do that, number 1, and most people can't do it anyway or don't wanna learn how to do it. And
Mhm.
then 2, that's like the most value that anybody can create is getting them excited about having a treatment and be willing to pay for it. That's the most
Mhm.
important thing. So it doesn't even make
Yeah.
sense for you to do Botox. You're better off to do another consult and let somebody else do fulfillment.
100%. And I truly love it. I think that's why I connect because I truly do care about that thing that you hate. And I truly do care about your happiness. And so I do love it. I don't mind doing that.
And you never know, you may even try doing direct consult to, like, telemedicine visit with you. I don't know if you
Yeah,
tried
and
that
that's
yet.
what this is opening my eyes because this has been like a real rate limiting factor for me because I would love to offer all these services, but I'm maxed, Adam. Like I don't have any more hours in the day, but I'm at the point where I'm like I can support myself financially and now I have to hire other people and it makes it like, oh, it goes back to being like money being a little bit tight again and I'm like, "Oh god, I don't want to go back. I just started making money."
Yeah, don't
So,
don't go back. I would use I would and so what I'd personally do if I were you or you my sister, what I'd tell you to do is start off by trying to sell these other packages
okay.
because let's say, for example, you use the telemed networks I have to fulfill, and you don't have to use
Okay.
those, you can use whatever you want to.
Okay.
But let's say you start off using that, and then you're like, dude, I just sold like I'm selling like 100 grand worth of like anti-aging treatments a month. This could be possible. Depends on how things flow. You would be surprised. Like most of the time when people make a lot of money, they're often like doing okay. They have an idea, they make an offer, and then when one of those offers takes, it's like a rush to go to fulfillment. What's cool about the networks is the networks can handle that volume because they're also being fed by all these
Oh
other
my
like
god.
contracts.
It just
So
feels like the missing link.
exactly, and then that way you can send to them. In the future, if you're like, "Hey, I'm doing like 150K a month in like medical weight loss. I want to take it in-house," you totally can. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. Then you hire your own
Mhm.
nurse practitioner, build your own clinic the way you desire it, and maybe it makes sense to do that. But
Oh
in
my
the
god,
meantime,
that's incredible. That's perfect, Adam.
this way you've proven the market, you've met fulfillment, and if you want to take fulfillment in-house, you totally can. There are times where it makes sense to do that. There's times where it doesn't make sense to do that. But that way, at least you have the option. And the thing is, you didn't risk hiring the nurse practitioner, getting a bigger office, doing all that crap, like doing all these capital
Yes.
investments. You didn't risk any of that to test the market. Test the idea first, make sure it works. And then when you get to a certain volume, you can then go backwards and build out what you need for infrastructure if you wish.
Okay. I'm
But
100% on board with the what I really wanna do are the hormone replacement. So
okay,
that's the one I would definitely want to get into. I wanna do the anti-aging stuff, but the hormone replacement is what I've been dreaming about for a long time
there's a
because
huge demand.
everyone's perimenopausal. No one knows who to go to, and
Dude,
the people that have money are perimenopausal. And the
yep.
guy I refer them all to, he's about to retire, and I don't get anything for referring to him, and so I would rather make money and keep it in-house.
So then what I would do, and this is such a good thing because it's funny, I was gonna mention that to you before you said that, but like everything I see is the perimenopausal market is ultra underserved. Nobody knows what to
It's gonna
do.
explode.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is there's really like mainstream medicine has no solutions for it, zero. And so like
Correct.
the people are like, I have no idea what to do. Do I need a hormone replacement? Do I not? They go to primary care, be like, oh, you got hot flashes. Hey, it's part of life. Deal with it. That's literally the stuff they
Mhm.
say.
Here's a question for you that I don't know if you'll know the answer to, but if this is telemedicine, so I have a lot of women who really enjoy the pellets, like the inserted pellets quarterly.
Okay.
So if this is telemedicine, how do I get them to that?
Either you can, have somebody, like, come in and do the pellets for you if you wish.
Okay.
However, what I personally do is I used to use pellets a long time ago, just FYI. So, like, back in the days, a long time ago, like, Medicare used to pay, like, decent for pellets and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
so when I had a big pain clinic, we'd have a whole hormone division with pellets. The problem I ran into is that the pellets were incredibly inaccurate. And with
What?
ultrasound oh, yeah, I'd look at with ultrasound on the pellets and, like, most of the time, they wouldn't dissolve right. There'd be some pellets that lingered way longer than they should have, some that would dissolve right away. And if you look at their blood levels, because I did this a lot for guys who need the higher dosage, but many times the blood levels are all over the place. Like, we give a pellet and, like, their blood level wouldn't change. I'm like, "I don't understand, the pellet's there. Why is it not dissolving?" And I put all these in myself, so I know, like, I put them in the right place. I use a trocar, like, you name it.
Mhm.
And basically, like, it was extremely unreliable. So I actually migrated all the people to direct injection. And the reason why is that solves two problems. One is it stops the procedure because those procedures are not incredibly profitable for you. They're very simple to
Oh,
do. Like, you could totally do them
oh,
yourself. They're very easy if you want
sure.
to.
I know.
But
I just
that
don't want
defeats the
to.
purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
The goal isn't to give you more work, the goal is to give you less work. And so what I would do is I'd just tell them, "Hey, look, part of the reasons why I don't use pellets is that they're incredibly inaccurate. We have a lot of people that get pellets, they dissolve too fast, sometimes they dissolve too slow. I worked with this doctor in the past, he would ultrasound people, got pellets, sometimes it'd be 3 months later, the pellet still wouldn't dissolve, and the person never got the medication they needed." These are all
Oh
true
my
statements,
gosh.
And
Wow.
so
Okay. So what's the direct injection? Is this like a weekly injection for hormones?
it depends on what you're doing with the hormones. So for women, there's a lot of different ways to treat the perimenopausal thing. But what I would suggest is that we go through, we look at some of the protocols that are existing on the telemedicine side right now to treat it. And
Okay.
then we take that protocol, give it to you, and then we have you look at it and say, okay, I want to say it like this way. Because a lot of it is not so much what's done, but it's how it's introduced, right?
Mhm.
For example, you may want to say, "Hey, one of the reasons why you get hot flashes is because you have these significant drop in this hormone, etc." And you may say, one of the things that you can do is you can supplement. You will need to make some kind of cool mechanism of action or a cool theory as to like why the protocol you're doing is special.
Okay.
And so a lot of times, like, and if you could talk a little bit about, hey, we do holistic healthcare. Did you know that one of the reasons why a lot of people who get perimenopausal have brain fog and they feel tired is because, in addition to having the perimenopausal symptoms, their conversion of T3 to T4 in their periphery goes down because they don't have enough vitamin
Right.
E or whatever, right?
Whatever it is.
And so now, and we'll map this out where it's like true, but a lot of it's like the way that you present it, right?
That would be good.
Yeah, no, this is all just so it's all just taking the scientific concepts and then mapping it to a like a cool story that makes sense to like a person who's
Yes.
not scientific. If we go in there and say, "Hey, look, the bottom line is your progesterone estrogen levels are messed up, and the ratio between progesterone and estrone is like a 2-to-1 ratio, and it actually should be
Mhm.
closer to one." Like that's like boring to them. But if you say, "Hey, here's the reason why this is happening. Part of the reason why is because you likely have
Mhm.
glyphosate buildup, and that's why part of my holistic health plan includes a detox for you using these supplements ABC. In addition, we're going to
Mm.
get your hormones replaced and get that totally lined out. And I have a special, nurse practitioner that works with me that's going to help me do that. All you don't have to come into the office. You just literally talk to her on your phone. I'll still be here to support you and help you, but she's going to get your hormones lined out, and I'm going to help get your supplements lined out for you.
I love it.
And then that way you
Oh,
can focus on just sales and marketing all day. And then
I
eventually you could
would
even just do that
love
from your
that.
house.
I would love this. Okay, 2 practical questions.
Sure.
1, do I have to is this something the medical director and I need to create a protocol for?
Only if you're gonna be doing it yourself. So one of the things
No.
so if you're gonna be shipping off to telehealth network, then technically they are taking the liability and
Okay.
responsibility for doing all that.
Okay.
We wanna make that look seamless with you. We don't wanna have any kind of
Mhm.
separation where it's like, hey, this is company two. No,
Yeah,
we
I
wanna
just
make it look
farmed you
all
out.
one.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why I mentioned before about like the theory, because I think that doing the sales and marketing is the most exciting fun part and really the only part that matters, to be fair, because without that you
Mhm.
don't have a customer. So
Right.
it's like without a
Yes.
customer none of the other stuff matters. But then the fulfillment part, we just do this, and then what we do is like, of the two networks, there's one that's smaller and then one that's larger. And so I'd connect you to the smaller one while I connect you directly
Mhm.
to the nurse practitioner and kind of talk to her. And then like we can look at what they do and we can modify like, they have exist like they already practice and do all this stuff anyway. But I'll come to them and say, "Hey, I want you to do it like this." And they'll be like, "Okay, cool. Like I'm fine doing it like that." And then that way
Mhm.
they know, okay, if it comes through this network, I'm going to do it like this. And
Oh,
so we can customize like that, and that solves that
okay.
problem for you.
That would be great because I was thinking like, man, I don't want them to feel like I just farmed them out. I want them to feel like they're still within Bravada.
Yeah, and we can make it where every time that they get seen by that practitioner, they fax the note to you. And then you
Oh,
could
that'd be
even make
great.
it there's all sorts of cool stuff we can do. We can make it where if you receive the fax or if you want to make a mark on it, like in your click practice, then it sends a note saying, "Hey, just reviewing the latest note from whatever,
Mhm.
Nurse
Mhm.
Susie or something. Just want to see how you're feeling today or whatever." We can automate a lot of that stuff, right?
Oh, cool.
So that way you keep them in the loop and it's very clear that you're still involved in their care and you're still the one organizing it. Because
Okay.
ultimately they're gonna be paying you first,
I
right?
love that. Yeah, that's my
That's what I
favorite
would
part
do.
of the whole situation.
And I would make a subscription. That way you just keep the people on subscription forever. That's the
Subscription.
that's the best thing you can do really for any business is put a subscription model in place. and it adds
Yes.
so much value to the business. It makes your income so much more reliable, and it's
Mhm.
amazing to me how many people don't do it. It's
You
crazy.
know, I agree. I created one early. You created AIC at the perfect time for me because I had just opened my doors and was like, "I don't know how to do this." And so I created a membership right off the bat. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. And now what it more than covers my expenses every month, like by 50%.
There you
Which,
go.
when you're opening a small business, is the most reassuring thing ever. Because 'cause you're like, "I don't know, is anyone gonna show up this month?"
That is totally true. And it's those what blows you is you would be surprised from where you are right now to
Mhm.
where you may think is impossible is not that far away. Because the difference
Mm.
between just you can just do the math. Like, what is your subscription plan right now?
It's $129 a month, and my high-end avatar gives 0 shits about my membership. They're like, "Yeah, no, I'll just pay the expensive rate." I'm like, "Okay."
So then what we could do is we could do like a very 'cause I was thinking if you do 997 membership for the hormones,
Okay.
and what I'll do is I'll factor in we'll have to figure out so on hormone businesses and telemedicine businesses, there's 2 parts. There's like different money centers in that model, right? The one money center is like collecting money up front, sending them to telemedicine to do fulfillment. There's another money center, which is the pharmacy side.
Mhm.
So the thing is that either you include the drugs in your price and your subscription or you don't. That's a
Mhm.
decision we got to figure out. But then if you do sell the drugs to the patient, there's a margin on that too. And just to give you a point, for example, sometimes what I don't do this anymore, but in the past, like I wanted to get a whole bunch of hormone customers in the door. I said free consultation, no charge to see the doctor, flooded my books with all these people, and then I made all my money on the pharmacy side because
Mm.
everything I ordered for them, I know exactly where that prescription's going because I'm sending it, right? So I go into my
Mhm.
pharmacy where I have the margin on that, and that's why I know. So I made more money on the pharmacy side than I did on the clinician side because I could charge
Okay.
them $150 per visit or whatever, but
Mhm.
instead I just mark up my meds more and then I make it on that side. So it
Mm.
depends on what you're doing, but for example, I'm launching a medical weight loss right now to an urban kind of market, and so it's a weird thing. That's why I was in Houston building this syndicate network. So we're
Mm.
basically the same kind of deal. Like I have a syndicate network of people that they're going to bring in all these people directly to telemed for basically medically guided weight loss or semaglutide, and we
Mhm.
also will use tirzepatide, et cetera. And then my whole goal is to basically have a payment up front, a subscription model, same thing that we're recommending you to do, and then basically from that, I also include the medication. So that
Yeah.
like they would pay like 997 and that would cover all their hormone needs. And we'll
Yeah.
make sure it makes sense, obviously. But let's say you do 997 a month and you say you only get 50 people. Dude, that's 50 grand a month.
Shut up.
It's
What?
true. There's the numbers right there. 49,850.
My
That's
head
50
just
people.
my head just exploded.
That's what I mean is so you see these things, but I've seen this with my own eyes with many people, including some of my own businesses. But I've also seen people who way outperform me, who sadly were younger than me. But nonetheless, like one guy I know is like Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you know him, but he's like kind of
Yeah,
famous
yeah.
now. So like he and I and Jennifer actually, we all came up through the same kind of marketing. We were in the same marketing mastermind back before he was
Oh,
like ultra
really?
rich. Yeah,
Yeah.
he everything he says is true. That guy's real, 100%.
Alex Hormozy, I saw a podcast with him the other day, and it said something like it was basically like, "Life is hard, stop being a little bitch." And it was so great because it was, like, exactly starting the business, like, you look around for help and you're like, "Great, it's still only just me, except I have you." But, like, it's only you doing everything, but that's a good thing because that means very few other people are gonna do it. And I was like, "That is a really good point."
I'll tell you, everything the guy says is true. And if you look at a
Yeah.
lot of his success, what he did immediately, by the way, which is the same thing I told you to do, but I didn't do right away, which I should have done, is the first thing he did is he immediately outsourced all his fulfillment. The only
Okay.
thing he focused on is sales and marketing. He immediately, like whenever he builds a company, the first thing he does is outsource fulfillment to somebody else. And then if you want to see though, just imagine, do you think that you could sell a program for 997 a month to help somebody with their hormones and
I
wellness?
Yeah, I think that I could for sure if as long as I felt confident in the program, like, once I learn about all of it,
Sure.
then yeah, I could do it.
How many do you think you could get in 3 months' time? Just be conservative.
10.
Okay. So if we just do 10, that's over 10K a month.
Wow.
And that's 997. You could also do 597. There's a lot of different things you could do because your cost on the telemedicine side will be very. I'll make sure it's very cheap. I'll give you like whatever the good rates are that we have.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, no problem. And then the only thing will be the pharmacy, like making sure that because the drug cost is the other thing you got to figure out whether you should work it in. But I'll tell you, selling somebody for 997 versus say 697, there's no difference. There really isn't, because especially if it was like, "Hey, if you focus on the results that you're gonna give them, I guarantee that we will get your hot flashes completely lined out. I guarantee that we will get you detoxified. I guarantee
Mhm.
that we will make your skin better." And the way that you can do that, by the way, is just giving them glutathione to inject, or you can inject it if you wish.
Okay.
I'd personally let Telemed give them to you for it. That way you take no liability at all, you
Okay.
know? And if somebody injects 1 cc of glutathione or 200 milligrams of glutathione, right, subcutaneously twice a week, it'll improve your skin, guaranteed.
Wow.
I
I
had a guy that had arthritis in his family. He had arthritic pains in his hand. This is a male, right? And so this guy basically was a manly kind of dude. And I was like, hey, I don't think you should be taking like anti-inflammatories forever. Like they're not good for your kidneys long term, et cetera. And so I told him, like, hey, why don't you use glutathione? It'll help your hand pain, which is true because it's an anti-inflammatory, right? So he took it,
Mhm.
hand pain went away. Then he writes back a couple months later, he's like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much because in addition to my hand pain not hurting anymore, I've also lost 18 pounds of fat and my skin looks amazing. My wife wanted to know, like, how did you make my skin look that good?
Wow.
And those were just accidents, but the reason why is
Those are
because
just accidents.
because the glutathione's anti-inflammatory. And for most people, if you're exposed to any of the common environment, you have lots of sources for inflammation. And
Mm.
fat is actually response to inflammation in many cases.
Wow. That is gonna sell like hotcakes.
And that's why I think you could easily charge 997 for it because like, it's not, like, that much money, and like I said, if you wanted to lower it, you could, but my point of saying is, like, basically, once you get this kinda stuff figured out,
Mhm.
this will be something that nobody else does, and you could even
Mhm.
just close people over telemed, you don't have to meet them in person, and eventually you could come to a point where you may not even have a physical location, but you're, like,
Mhm.
living in the Bahamas or in Puerto Rico where you pay 4%
Mhm.
corporate tax only, and,
Yeah.
whatever you wanna do is up to you. You could be in Dubai
Well,
where you pay no tax, you know?
I'll be in the Bahamas and you and Jen can visit anytime you'd like.
Well,
We'll just
thanks, I
save
would like that.
we'll save a room for you. It'll be very comfortable. You'll love
Perfect, man, that's pretty great.
it.
But yeah,
Um,
let's see if we can get that
okay.
done for you. And then on this thing,
Yes.
if you want, this is pretty easy to copy. If you
Okay.
want, I can ask Jen to copy this when we get a chance. We'll drop in your
Yeah.
account.
Do you think that's
Um,
worthwhile to just do that, or should I change it in any way? Like, what do you
I
think?
would I would just take off their logo, put your logo, and I keep it close to as possible the same to test it because I'll let you know how well it works. The thing is, we
Okay.
don't know how well it works for them, and a
Mhm.
lot of times, whenever a company sells,
Mhm.
they wanna look like they have everything figured out, but most of the
Mhm.
time they don't. So, it'd be interesting to find out if that's actually successful or not, and you can at
Mhm.
least test it and see. But the best thing to always do whenever you run into your competitor's marketing is just copy it and test it.
Okay.
And that'll let you
Alright.
know the quality of leads. Because what if you get a whole bunch of cheapos from this? It may not be worth your time, you know? But
Yeah, and that may be who they're marketing to more. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about real quick, and I promise I'll let you go, is it's a really small town, Atlantic Beach, all right? And that's where most of my high-end people are.
mhm,
So I know that mail campaigns have a very low response rate, but I was like, man, this is a tiny town. And if I had one noticeable brochure that you threw away for 4 months in a row, eventually you're going to look and be like, what is this thing? Is that a worthwhile way to go to like paper the town for the next year and a half till they get here?
absolutely, and I think, the thing about any campaign, and whether it's mail or digital or whatever, is that the campaigns themselves all depend on your market to message match. Because
Oh,
the channels that you select, whether it's mail, whether it's email, text message, the channels, they have their own characteristics. But ultimately, if the message is strong enough, it doesn't matter where it is. And
okay.
just to give you some examples, like I've literally seen direct mail pieces that have been like one of the ones that's the craziest one I ever saw was there was a letter that was on a yellow piece of paper with brown writing. It's very hard to read, but and the guy, like, wrote this long letter, it was, like, looked like it was in hand, but it was actually printed, and then, like, he wrote on the side of the column, like, all the way down the thing, and, like, all the way on the other side, it was, like, turn page over, and, like, on the back, he wrote and it was just, like it looked like just crazy writing, but the message was
Mhm.
so powerful to the if you were his right person, like, the message was exactly what you were looking for. And
Mm.
so the message is what really matters the most. And so what I'd say is one of the things that you could do is you can use every door direct, which decreases your cost significantly and allows you to hit
Okay.
entire areas.
Every
Do you do
door.
that one?
No, I don't know anything,
Okay.
Adam.
A lot of stuff. What are you talking about?
I do now when other people you know what, Adam, I do have to laugh when other CRNAs are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna open a Botox place too." I'm like, "Okay, sure." I don't know. It's been a lot of work. This is not the retreat in the Bahamas that they thought it would be. Now, I'll do it all day, every day, but I don't know.
But that's what it takes to be the best. It's the same thing with
Yeah,
anesthesia. It's like when I started in anesthesia, I was like a medical student, right? And so
yeah.
I'd volunteer at night to be in at that time we called them anesthesia assistants, but they weren't like the anesthesia
Mm,
assistants today. Like they were just like
right.
you were an assistant to the anesthesia person. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, I would set up the machines and that kinda stuff, and then so, like, I started out doing that, and then what I realized, like, I could volunteer, and especially the residents were lazy, as always,
Mhm.
most of them are anyway, and so they'd be like once I could show that I could do epidurals and spinals, they're like, "Okay, why don't you just handle that?" And so I ended up getting over 1,000 epidurals and spinals combined before I ever went to residency,
Whoa.
because I was the only one that was be happy to be up at 1 AM doing an epidural on some pregnant lady because the resident would be happy to sleep, and I would just give them the report when it's
Whoa.
done. So
Wow.
that's why I got so
That's
many. But
wild,
that
Adam.
that's the way it always is on everything. There's the Pareto principle, right? So Vilfredo
Mhm,
Pareto, the statistician, he found these
mhm,
ratios, and these ratios exist all in nature. There's always like 5% of
mhm,
people are the best,
mhm,
95% of people are not. And
mhm.
it's just the question is, are you the 5%? And in
I'm
different
100% the 5%. I
exactly.
will do anything, tenacity, grit, you name it. I don't know. I think it is a small percentage.
It is, and the thing is, until you try, you don't know. And then, like, even on my own journey, I started a lot of businesses initially. Like when I was like a young kid, I didn't even know how to run a business, right? I was
Mm,
doing one time I built a business doing judgment recovery, whereas like when two people sue each other in court, they make a judgment,
mhm,
and 85% of these judgments go uncollected. So I was like, okay,
mm.
cool. I'll figure out how to collect these judgments, and then I send direct mail to people. Like send I've looked up their address, mail them a letter saying, hey, you have this judgment hasn't been collected in 2 years. If you like me to try to collect it for you, I'm happy to do that. But if I do collect, take 50%. I give you 50%. So it's like a no brainer offer for them because they obviously can't collect it because they haven't done it
Right.
yet. And then basically I take half if I win.
Yeah.
But I didn't even understand like how to do business or deal with customers. And people call, I'd be like all nervous. Hey, like I didn't know what
Oh.
to,
Oh,
So,
that's hilarious. So how'd you
but
get the money?
that one I started with like $100.
No, like, how'd you get the money from the person that owed it?
Oh, so yeah, with judgments is really really interesting. So basically, once you have an existing judgment, you can actually send these things called written interrogatories. So they're
Mhm.
like questions that the person has to answer in court.
Oh.
So they're like basically you can essentially what happens is that you can if especially if you're in the same town as that person, you can
Mhm.
basically file this thing for a written interrogatory where you ask them like, "Hey, where's your bank? Like, how much money did you make last year? What's your taxes?" Like you ask them all sorts of really personal questions. And then they have to go to court, and you can read these written interrogatories, and they have to answer you in person on with it's
Oh
being like
my
recorded.
gosh.
There's no judge there, but like you're talking to them. And a lot of times when people start getting these requests from the court and they're getting served, so it looks very
Yeah.
official. They're just like, "Hey, I'll pay. Just end this, please." And then if they
Oh.
do go through the written interrogatories and they answer those questions, one, I make them tell me how much they made last year, where they
Mhm.
work, which
Mhm.
is really important to know, and then I ask them where their bank account is. And once
Mhm.
I know where they work and where their bank account is, I can do a garnishment. So I can actually file a thing
Oh.
with the court where I can actually have the court garnish their wages. So when they do get
Oh
paid,
my
then
god.
the court will actually take the money out and to pay the judgment, and they only get a percentage of it.
A little gangster. I
Yeah.
love it.
It was a really weird thing, and then a lot of the people, like, a good percentage of them were people that just, like, totally disappeared. The biggest judgments were the hardest ones to collect, like, $5 million, and the guy, like, left the country, so it's really hard to find that guy. But a lot of
Wow.
them were just small, and they were a lot of it was just sending dunning letters where it's like, "Hey, you owe this amount. If we don't hear from you, we're gonna take you to court." And then they get served pretty soon, they're like, "Okay, crap, I need to pay it. Okay, fine, I'll pay it."
Wow. That's spectacular. I don't even know what we were talking about before that. That was amazing. Oh, okay.
Well,
Direct
I
door.
just I wanted to show you this tool. So if you just go to do a search for EDDM or it's called Every Door Direct Mail, this
Okay.
tool is very useful. What was the address where you were mentioning? Was it Atlantic?
Atlantic Beach. The zip is 32233.
Okay. So what's cool about this tool is it can show you the average. So here's it looks like here, and it'll show you all
Mhm.
the mail routes.
Okay.
So what's cool about this is each of these pink things is a mail route. And you can
Oh.
see when I hold my cursor over it, it'll tell me different stats about it. So like here, there's 995 residential people on this mail route.
Mhm.
There's 162 businesses. I can ask it also if I want to find better ages. Like I want to find ages between, say, maybe like 60 and 45.
Mhm.
And it'll tell me the percentage of those now. So there's 51% of people are between 45 and 60. Here's their
Mhm.
income, 53K, and your cost to run every door direct on the mail route is $234.
What about scoot your cursor over, yeah, that's right, go to the ocean. There you go.
Okay.
Those are my people.
And
Now
so,
what's
yeah,
this
look
one?
at that income, 101,000 versus 53.
Hmm.
So you got a 66% between 45 and 60. This is much better route to choose. It's only $79, but your average income is 101K, and you have 388 residentials with only one business. Because you don't, in general, want to mail to businesses that, you want to
Mhm.
hit the people, right? So you
Mhm.
could basically send out, you have to pay for the every door direct printing to however many there are. There's 389 people there, essentially. So you can get like little every door direct things printed out. You can bundle them. I think they're in sets of 100. You put like a little
Mhm.
paper on every 100, or you can have a service do this for you. But you basically take those, you drop them off at the post office, and then what they do is they put a little flyer into every mailbox they go to. And your
Hmm.
total cost for that would be $79 for the dropping off. You still have to pay for the printing of the thing. But that's an easy way to get a lot of people aware of your product.
Mm.
So then
Okay.
the question is just, can you get the right message? Because I think if you were to offer the anti-aging message, or even if it's just to a video you did, like you could make a video about like how to,
Ooh.
are you in Atlantic Beach? Do you want to keep staying the Atlantic beauty, or do you want to age prematurely? Or whatever it is, like whatever message it is, you could put on the Every Door Direct, and it could lead to a webinar, for example, where they could register and learn the top secrets for Atlantic Beach women to keep beautiful skin, etc.
Mm. Do I say anything about the difference with my med spa? Do I say anything about one-on-one personal service, concierge environment,
I think it depends on the
relaxed,
message you
friendly?
have.
I don't know.
I think it'd be wise to position yourself like that as well. But I think, remember, ultimately, whenever this is one of the mentors taught me, my copywriting mentor once taught me, was like, whenever you write a message, remember the other person, what they're thinking is, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me?
Okay.
And all those things sound good and they do position your med spa better. If I get a piece of paper in the mail
Mhm.
and it looks really cool, like maybe it catches my interest because it's like, hey,
Mhm.
maybe it has a before and after of someone who's like aged and now they look much younger, and be like,
Mm.
hey, did you know this was all done without filler or cosmetic surgery? To
Oh.
learn how, use this QR code or go to blah blah com. And so when I'm thinking of my time, is like, what's in it for me? So the message needs to match whatever it is is going to be like what your hook is. So at that point, I wouldn't talk about how great your med spa is, but what I'd do is
Right,
I would
right.
keep them focused on whatever the hook is, because the hook may be like, hey, how to avoid like looking with leathery skin, or hey, did
Mhm.
you know that 60% of residents that live where you are in your neighborhood have melanoma or something like that, and here's how do you prevent it or whatever. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you could market it, and you could also do the same
Yeah.
thing about menopause. And so you could literally send out a little thing about, "Hey, do you ever feel like a picture of a woman with, like, flames on her? Do you ever feel like this? Is are you perimenopausal? And here's exactly our solution to that. We take a holistic approach. We do this and this.
Right.
Can be done completely over the phone, text or calls to this number," something like that. And then you field the call, talk to them about your approach and how it's so interesting, whatever,
Mhm.
sell them on the subscription thing, and then basically send them over telemedicine fulfillment, you're done.
100%. We're doing this. Okay. Thank you. That
Sure.
is perfect. I'm going to paper that whole neighborhood with my message because I just want these people. I'm going to take your advice and start really targeting the high end.
That's just what I've seen, and what's really weird is that in many ways, it's a better not only is it a better customer, right, but it's actually easier, and the reason why is because the high end sticks to themselves. They're somewhat of a closed group, right? And
Mhm.
so because of that, once you start treating a few people that are high end, it becomes very easy to get more high end people. And that's
Oh.
that's what I've seen with the PDPA stuff. That's why I like treat one movie guy, and then next thing I know, like I got more, and I got now rock people. It wasn't because I went out and solicited those rock people. It's because the movie guy told those guys, and then those guys told the
Mhm.
rock guy. And so like
Mhm.
it because that community is so small. Imagine if you are a celebrity, other celebrities, but in some ways there's a little bit of they're closer to your friends than like the average person. You're going to mention that, and because if just like if one of your closest friends told you something, you're more likely to trust that.
Of
So
course.
many times, once you penetrate that community, it becomes a lot easier, and you start to get more and more word of mouth referrals from that direct community.
Mhm.
And then
You're
that way, with your marketing, they're like, "Oh, I've got a flyer from her. She talked about this menopause thing, like how how mainstream medicine doesn't fix menopause and why, and like
so
how."
I and so I'm also hearing, if I'm hearing you correctly, if I was gonna send mailers to these neighborhoods and I'm looking for that high-end client, I do not include on that mailer anything like $50 off your first appointment or anything like that.
I wouldn't because they're not looking for that anyway. Plus,
Okay.
like ideally, the inducement of so much off it doesn't really it doesn't really,
It
make
Yeah.
it doesn't really apply. Their thing is, like, you got them hooked on something initially in order for them to look at the flyer, and so
Mhm.
whatever that is should be, like, the next step, like,
That should be it.
"Yeah,
Okay, I
hey,
agree. I just
do you know
wanted to
why
say
you
it
have
out
menopause?"
loud
And "Oh, yeah, sure."
because when
It's
I get med spa discount flyers, I purposely don't go to that one, and I'm just a CRNA.
yeah, and there's probably a lot of people like that. There are people that do go to discount stuff, and you probably may have even seen a few of those as customers. And I know
Right.
sometimes we get those people, and the first thing we do is try to get rid of them because
Mhm.
they're always the most difficult customer.
100%. You're 100% right. Yeah.
And so that's why I think whatever your message is, if you're gonna do the menopause, I think the menopause thing is hugely underserved. Like just by
Yes.
you running even like a webinar about menopause, like
Mhm.
you close so many people just because you're like, hey, this is especially if you could you may I don't want to pry into your personal information, but if you could be like, hey, either I've been through this or one of my friends have been through this or my
Mhm.
mom's been through this or whatever, right?
No, so I went into menopause at 35. That's why I couldn't have kids. So I've been on all the replacements. So I'm
Oh,
like
okay.
perfectly positioned and I'm 46 because no one ever believes that. They're like, what would you know about this? And I'm like, actually. And so I'm perfectly positioned to do this.
Perfect.
This is 100% the next step.
And then that's exactly what I would do. And then I would honestly, I would even try that message because whether you
Mhm.
run and you could run Google ads if you want to, you could run Facebook ads, you could run video view ads on Facebook and Instagram, which are really cheap. Like you could spend a couple
Mhm.
$100 on that and drive
Mhm.
people to your landing page, which talks about, hey, what is the solution for women that are dealing with this? Why you can't just take hormones off the counter? Why you're taking whatever the most common things are, and we can pull them up using SEO.
Mhm.
We can go to google.com and we could do a quick search and be like, let's see, menopause. So look at this menopause symptoms, age, tests, supplements. And you could be like, hey, which
Mhm.
menopause test do you need to know? Which menopause test is most accurate? Find
Mhm.
out what age does menopause start for most women. Find out
Yeah.
now.
We could do a
Um,
quiz on the website. I learned that from you. Do you think you have
exactly.
menopause? Take this 10-question quiz.
Is it possible menopause is causing you to have weight gain?
Could
That's what's
be.
on there.
It's probably the Twinkies, but it could also be this.
But the more you can blame on the menopause, the better, right? I think this menopause specialist near me. So there's a lot of people that are like looking for this. You know,
Yes.
you can hit all these things up. Like for this one, you'd be like, what menopause supplements really work? That's like, and then
Mm.
they click on it and it has like a video of you talking about menopause symptoms. Hey, by the way, if you're looking to treat your menopause, I have a solution that I've used ever since I was 35, and this is what I do, and I now help so many women that to do this as well. And I can get you the stats from the network, so I could be that way you can use them. And be like, hey, we've treated over 300,000 women or whatever it is, right?
Yes. Yes. All of that. Okay. I'm really excited. Thank you so much, Adam.
Sure.
Okay. Cool. I got a lot to do here. All right. Yeah. And so you're going to connect me with someone I can talk to about how that works, the system works for getting
You
the
bet.
hormone replacement. Okay.
Well, I think the
Cool.
first thing that would be the most useful is let me go ahead and grab their most recent protocol and run it by you
Okay.
so you can take a look and see how they treat it. And then what I'd do is I'd say, if you need help, I'm happy to help you. But basically, like I'll show you whatever protocol they have. And then if you like, hey, I like this, but I also want to include supplement A, B, C, or you can include those on your own. Because I recommend you add some supplements too to it as
Hmm.
well.
Okay.
And I can help you with that if you need that connection as
Okay.
well. But that way you make it a unique thing where like that way nobody else can be like compete with you because it's yeah, I could go to a random doctor, but she gets it. She's had it, she's dealt with it, she speaks my language, like I trust her, she's from the same place I
Hmm.
am from. Like
Hmm.
that will be your apples to oranges comparison. And there's no way the other med spa could even get close to that.
No.
Like, there's night and day difference because the thing is you're a different size, number 1, but number 2, your messaging and marketing is so superior to them.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about menopause stuff, they're talking about discounted Botox. Everybody's talking about discounted Botox. You're doing this other thing, and, oh, by the way, since you have menopause, one of the things we also have to do is make sure we don't age. So if you guys need Botox, I also have a membership for that too. And you
I
may
love
end up
it.
becoming that's what happens sometimes. You may become, like, the number 1 Botox person in your area. In that case, just hire a nurse to do fulfillment, and then you just keep selling people in subscription and then let everybody else do fulfillment, and you'll
Mhm.
be good to go, and just make
I
sure
would love that.
if you do that, make sure you have a QA afterwards so you can monitor the quality of the people,
Okay.
that are working for
Alright.
you. But I
Alright.
can help you do that. You already have the funnels. You have the MB, what is it called? The blanking on the acronym, but it's basically the little score that checks to see if they're a net promoter score, NPS.
Yeah, oh, Net Promoter Score.
That's a little thing that where they like say, "Hey, are you satisfied with the service? Would you recommend it on a scale of 1 to 5?" The thing. And then
I
that
haven't implemented it yet, but I know I need to.
and once you get the thing built, I'll help you do that, and then that way you can have a little like that in the future, let's say you do hire someone to do Botox for you.
Mhm.
Then what you do is you just do an NPS after each visit, just be like, "Hey, how's your experience?" Because that way, and if there's something that goes wrong, you'll know right away, and you can be like, "Hey, maybe her name is Stacy. Say, hey, Stacy, like, what happened with Mrs. Johnson?
Mhm.
She says she had a bad experience."
Mhm.
And you can figure out whether that's the only
Yeah.
downside about employees, but you do have to monitor their output quality.
What that's why I'm super excited about outsourcing fulfillment, because then you don't have that headache.
Exactly. And then you could just be working at home, and like your life will be so much better. Just not having to travel, not having to just it is going to the med spa every day takes up time.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but, like, every time I was in med spa, it seems like some freaking rep would slip in. If I turn around, like, "Oh, do you know about this laser? How did a laser salesman get in the bathroom? This is crazy."
Ah, that's hilarious. Alright, I love it. Thank you so much, Adam. I
Oh,
really
my pleasure.
appreciate all of this. I'm super excited about it.
We'll get that funnel knocked out for you as well. That'll be easy, and then we can release that to everybody if you want, if that's cool with you in the group, in case they wanna
Of
try it.
course.
But, I think, honestly, your best bet's gonna be just doing that. I think getting that message for especially perimenopausal, which it sounds
Mhm.
like maybe this was even destined? You don't wanna
Oh,
sound, like, too dramatic,
100%. I don't know why I got a molecular and experimental nutrition degree, and then I went into menopause at 35, and then, like, I opened a med spa later, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so I understand why all these things happened now."
and the thing is with your degree, I'm sure a lot of stuff that could help people too. Like,
Mhm,
just a lot of these supplements and cosmeceuticals, etcetera, those are all things you can stack on, and if you need connections, like, there's a guy that I know is really successful. I know a few people in the supplement industry, but one guy I know is really, like, he's ultra intelligent, like, he's as smart, if not smarter than a doctor in
mhm.
supplements, like, he's really good.
Wow.
And his name's Joe, I'll connect you to him too. But he can, if he doesn't already have a supplement, like, he can get you, like, any kind of supplement you need. He can also tell you what products are easy to get, how difficult it'd be to make stuff, and he can also be like, "Hey, if you need this," he may not do it, be like, "I know a guy who does it," and he can connect you to that
Yeah.
guy.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's good, it's
Alright,
good to have
thank you.
connections,
Yeah, no
right?
joke.
Awesome, it's great to see you, and then if you have any other questions, let me know, and then we'll be dropping that other thing into your account probably in the next few days, if that's okay.
The funnel?
Yeah, the $100 intro offer,
Yes.
$100 offer ankle
Yeah,
relaxers.
that's great. That's great. Thank you. And I'll just look for that on AIC. How do I look? Someone let me know.
What I'll do is,
Wanna
yeah, we'll drop it in your account in general, send you an email, and then
Oh, okay.
the next thing I'm gonna do is I'll be emailing you directly, about, or texting you directly saying, "Hey, here's the protocol they have, if you wanna take a look at it and see if you agree with it."
Mhm,
And what I would recommend is you probably make some kind of modification to it so that's what's unique. You don't have to,
mhm.
but and maybe that modification is some supplements you give the person to start off with, could be that too.
Okay.
But that'll be a huge opportunity. Once you figure that out, by the way, there's nothing stopping you from just doing this online and doing it in every state.
Wow.
And because there's 2 networks that I built. So I was trying to solve this for my other thing. Like, I have this thing called Lifesaver Vault. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it. So here's the URL. It's called lifesavervault.com.
Fault.
It basically it's like a emergency pack of medications for people. Like if you're like maybe you're a prepper and you're like, "Hey, I don't know if the pharmacy's gonna have antibiotics in case I need them," that kind of thing. You
Mhm.
can buy these little vaults, we call them lifesaver vaults, and they have like the basic one has all of your antibiotics you need to survive, like the 5 critical antibiotics you need, like if you couldn't get to a pharmacy
Yeah.
or mainstream medicine. And then the top one has that plus a whole bunch of other stuff. But so long story short, I wanted to build this up and sell this. So I had to figure out the fulfillment because the audiences I had were all nationwide. And I was like, crap, because I can't have, if they're not like, I don't have a license in every state, so I can't see them all myself. So I had to build that out.
Mm.
So I ended up building this weird complex structure, but I have a large network that can consist of basically 48 states. And then I have a larger network that consists of all 50 plus international territories, including the Caribbean. And so these 2 networks I basically merged together, and then because this is one of those, aggregation plays I'm doing long term. Like, long term, my goal is to merge these together and then aggregate all of their users, then try to resell it. So,
Oh.
I'm trying to put these together for an aggregation play coming up, but basically, I have these 2 networks, so they can cover almost anything, and they can cover we got all US covered for sure, and then we also have in, like, Puerto Rico, provinces,
Wow.
Caribbean, so, like, we could cover all of that too should you ever want to do that. But start with small thing, and what you may find out is like you get your marketing down with your local market. The first thing
Mhm.
I do is I test that nationwide because you
Wow.
may find out nationwide, like you could, I mean, you can just do the math, but imagine, I tell you what, nationwide, you're going to find some people, right? And let's say you only charge 597 a month. So we cut down that price. You got
Mhm.
597 a month. If you go to the entire nation with your message, the amount of people that are gonna see your message is huge, and you have fulfillment nationwide, like, nobody most people can't do that. So you're already like, your competition is now, like, only you and pretty much large companies now can do this. So, basically, like, your message is very unique and very personable. People start to bond with you, they start to know you. They could be in Oregon, and they could essentially go and have your solution.
Wow.
You can still meet them online, sell them the supplements, that's totally legal, you're not even acting as a medical professional, you're just acting as a coach, and then you basically connect them to your telemedicine solution, and now you have the telemedicine fulfill it, and you have 0 liability, but
Wow.
yet you make all the money, right? Isn't that cool?
That's the ultimate medical entrepreneur.
There you go, exactly.
It's
That's
the
why I had to build
ultimate.
that thing, it took forever, you know, it was a pain, like, I spent, like, how
Wow.
many yeah, like, it was a huge pain to build it, but
See,
now that I
it's
have it, it's worth it, you know?
5% that will actually do it.
It's the crazy 5% that don't stop, that's what it is,
Mhm. Yeah. We don't need sleep. We'll be alright.
yeah. But now that I have it, I'm all excited about it because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, what I could deliver through there?"
Oh
Because
my god, the possibilities are endless.
exactly. So, it's really cool, and then, I started building the syndicate networks to feed into the telemedicine, so now, once I figure out how to do the syndicate networks, like, that's the next thing, because once I have these 2 pieces, then it'll be like, if I can feed patients through these syndicate networks into the telemed, it's, like, essentially unstoppable because now I don't need anything, and there's no rate limiting factor. There's not a number of doctors that I need, it's not it has to relate to how many hours I can work or anything like that, or how many physical people we
Mm.
can get in location, like, all that stuff's gone, it's just pure marketing now.
Oh,
And that's when
wow.
you can really scale because it is like just to be real, like let's just do the numbers here. So you have 597. Let's say you focus all of your time energy on marketing. This perimenopausal thing blows up. We nail down like a theory. You have a book about it now. You're doing interviews on podcasts about how women get perimenopausal. Why it's so important to correct this because this and this
Mhm.
happen, and it changes who they are, changes their relationships, whatever. Like we can really build all that stuff out. So you do that. Now you go nationwide. Let's say, for example, it wouldn't be unreasonable, for example, for you to have like 2,000 customers a month. So you have 2,000 customers at 597 a month. That's $1.1 million dollars a month every month
Wow.
revenue. And the thing is, if imagine if you stack them. So now if you said 2,000, let's say you get 5,000 over a period of, let's just say, let's be conservative, let's say over 3 years. It takes you 3 years to get 5,000 active subscribers. Times, was it 597?
Mhm.
That's $2.9 million dollars a month every month.
Wow.
And you have no liability. You could be based anywhere in the world, which means by definition, your money can go to another country or whatever, so you don't have to pay taxes. There's ways to deal with that when that comes time. But basically, you can imagine, let's assume that you had only a 50% margin on that. Or let's assume worst case, you have 30% margin. So we times 0.30. So 30% margin, that means you're making $895,000 a month cash tax profit. So that's basically if you only collect 30% of all that money, you're getting $895,000 a month every month, and you have no liability. You could be based anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
That's the ultimate move.
I feel like I could be alright with that.
Yeah. That's enough to do anything you really wanna do, realistically, that's enough to deal with a
Mhm,
private jet because private jets cost about $1,000,000 a year,
mhm.
roughly, to run one, and at $895 a month, like, you could easily cover, like, your first month plus some covers your private
Yeah.
jet, and
Wow.
then you could do whatever you want to.
Wow.
So that's the potential.
Yeah, that sounds pretty great. I hope I live up to that. I'll definitely do what I can, Adam. But
Well,
yes.
just to give you an idea, so that while it seems like a lot, I just wanted to also let you know. So let's look real quick at this lady here. So are you familiar with Lady Boss?
No.
Okay, so Lady Boss, let me see where it is. Here it is. Okay, sorry, let me share the screen real quick. Okay, so here's Lady Boss Fitness, right? This
Mhm.
lady who initially started this was Kaylin Poland, and we know Kaylin and Brandon, and they started this. They got over, I think it was over 400,000 women. I was hoping they could see it. I think it's increased since then. But they got over 400,000 people in a matter of like 1.5 years. And they're selling weight loss community for women to lose weight and to get in shape.
Wow.
And you see they're off 30 days slim down. Like these are somewhat new things, but basically let's assume if you had the same kind of result as that, but let's say it took you 3 years, but you had 300,000 people and they were paying 597 a month.
Good
That's a
lord.
179,000,000. I'm not saying it has to be that big, but if
Right.
that can be done, and this is
It just
somebody who's
multiplies
real,
so quickly is the point, is
and
that once you
it's the
get it
economies to
down and
scale.
outsource fulfillment, the scale is limitless.
Exactly, because you're now playing at a different level, and that's the thing is, like, when you move
Yeah.
the different levels, the everything changes because now you're no longer limited by fulfillment. You don't have to deal with any licensing or any worry
Mhm.
of malpractice because it all goes to telemed, and then you basically can focus only on marketing and sales, which is the most important things anyway, and then what's your audience? How
All
many women deal with perimenopausal issues? They're all
right.
over.
Yeah.
And just imagine how many women are, like, in a rural area where there's, like, nobody there to help them. If you live
Mhm.
in, like, rural Texas, for example, or, like, rural Arkansas, rural
Where are you gonna
Oklahoma,
go?
Colorado, like, there's a lot of areas where there's just nobody there,
Yeah.
Wyoming. And so these are all things that are very reasonable and could be expected to be successful.
Okay. All right. I'm on board. I'm super excited about it. I this seems like exactly what I've been looking for because I want my women to have hormone replacement more than anything. I That's the next thing I want to give
It's a
them, and to be able to scale it in this way it's a no-brainer.
it's a huge demand for sure. I
And it solves the problem of me not having enough capital to hire someone and create an employee to do this.
And the thing is, you see those numbers, and once you realize, man, maybe you need a team of 3 to 4 virtual assistants, that's very
Mhm.
reasonable, and I spend a ton
Mhm.
on that. Like, you could do quite well.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm down. I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Reach out and get you the protocol to look at
Okay.
next. So give me like 1 or 2 days to finish that, and then we'll work on the funnel. That should be done hopefully by the end of the week for you.
Okay. I'm super excited. Thank you so much, as always, Adam.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm so thankful for this knowledge, and I'm well aware that just how valuable it is. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I love talking to you, and every time we talk, we come up with amazing ideas, and I think
Hmm.
this thing, just the perimenopausal thing alone, you could become the category king of that entire thing because nobody's really talking about it.
Yeah.
I don't know of
Yeah.
any experts on it that are out there at all.
I don't know either. I Maybe I'll have to do some Googling and see what's out there, if anything.
And the thing is, you're already an expert at it because you actually been through it, which is
Yeah.
perfect, you
And it
know?
helps that I'm still like, just to be real, it helps that I'm still like young and pretty. Like I'm
Yeah.
46, but I can still speak to this. Like I don't look like I've been dragged over the coals through menopause.
It
You
would
know?
be a harder sell if you, like, had, like, deep
Yeah.
lines and you're all weathered.
Yeah.
It's
I made it out. I survived.
like, "Really? Couldn't tell by the way you look."
Yeah, you don't look like you thrived. You did survive. So yeah, like I'm well aware, like we gotta market as much as we can now.
And then just play with the concept in your head because maybe there's a way you could use menopause in, like, a different way instead of saying menopause, like, thrive or see, like, how you could maybe,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
change
yeah.
something like that where you're like,
Because
"Hey,
it is
we
kind of
don't."
a horrible word, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and because it sounds like someone's getting paused, right? So I'm like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
what happened?"
And men are on pause. That's horrible. That means I'm no longer attractive. This is horrible idea.
And then that way you could change it, say, "Hey, we are," you could eventually give a group identity, "We
Mhm.
are X, and so,
Yeah.
we don't go through menopause, we go through thrive," or whatever. Yeah,
Yes.
so but it'll come to you, just keep receiving, and you'll get it, you know?
All right. I will. Okay. Thank you so much, Adam.
My pleasure. Great talking to
Yeah, you too. Have a good
you.
night.
Alright, will do. Thank you. You too.